Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all enjoyed the parallel sessions you were part of. Learned something new, perhaps talk to some new people. We hear lots of talk going on at least, so we take that as a positive sign. So now as you find your seats, and even our presenters are already on stage, it's like, doof, perfect. So our next session, we will focus on age-friendly environments and urban planning. We know that the environments we live in, our neighborhoods, the public space, the infrastructure, it plays a crucial role in supporting our lives and supporting how we age. And urban planning that considers accessibility, social participation, as well as health, can make a real difference in people's lives. So please welcome already on stage, thank you very much, so cool. From Finland, Antti Rehunen, from Finnish Environment Institute, or Syke. From Estonia, Sirle Salmistu, Senior Lecturer at the Tallinn University of Technology, and landscape architect and urban planner. And from Norway, Siri Arnsted, leader and founder of Fabric Plus. And our moderator for the session is my dear colleague, Yongjie. Please give them all a hand.
Thank you so much. I hope you really enjoy today and your session. So get ready for our final sessions of the day. But then, of course, we promise to have a really nice reception for you and also a surprise for you. But before then, it's my pleasure to close today's session on this very important topic. As you know, physical environment is deeply, deeply interconnected with social participations, mobilities, mental well-being, access to health and care services. And actually, when we get it right, when cities, environments get this right, we don't just make life easier. They enable all of us to stay active, to be connected, and to be independent as we age in our own neighborhood and communities. So today we have a fantastic sessions with experts from across the Nordic-Baltic region, who will take different perspective, different lens, from spatial data using GIS data to placemaking, to designing communities under extreme weather. Of course, we're from the Nordic-Baltic region, so we know the extreme winter conditions, how we can design the environment to support healthy aging for older persons now and also for the future. So the format is quite simple. Each of our speakers will come up, give their presentations, 15 minutes, and then we'll do that for each of our presenters, and we have about 30 minutes for your discussion. So think of questions, and I have a few questions already for our speakers. So our first speaker is Antti Rehunen, from the Finnish Environment Institute. He is a senior research scientist who specializes in applying GIS and spatial data to understand how urban environment affect different populations. And so he'll share with us the studies that he has done on how to incorporate age-friendly designs into urban planning. So the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Antti. I come from Syke Finnish Environment Institute. It's a public research institute in Finland, now celebrating its 30-year anniversary. And my approach here is geospatial, using GIS data, as Yongjie mentioned, to analyze what kind of changes there has been in age-friendly environments, what are the qualities in general, and then using different spatial classifications to analyze differences between areas, and then calculate indicators across different scales from building, neighborhood, up to city and city region. And we have produced different sets of maps here in a couple of very practical projects also, just to illustrate, but also contextualize and interpret data for Finnish cities. And so kind of creating a shared knowledge base for planning. So we know where we are, where we might be going and what should be done in the environment. we first started collecting different existing survey material and looking at the older age groups and also comparing to younger adults. And actually there's plenty of data already existing. And what we found out is that the residential environment, what's close by people, the local services, they have a big difference and make a big difference, particularly for the eldest groups over 75 years old. They move very close to where they live. And then combining the survey data to different area classifications, we used, for example, this one separating city center and its fringe zone, then sub-centers in Helsinki region here, for example, and then transit zones where you have intensive or basic level public transport, and then car zones, kind of car-dependent city. And you find different experiences of people in these different areas and also points that you need to develop if you want to make the environment more age-friendly. In city centers, it's a question about if you have enough green space or how to deal with unsafety, maybe noise and traffic issues. And then when you go further outside, it's more about the accessibility of services and how you manage your daily life using public transport if you have to travel a longer trip for services, and then if you don't have a car in your use anymore, so how everything is managed. Then going to where people live, we know that it's very typical to age in place, and that also allows us to kind of make predictions where future older people will be living, looking at those that are age groups that are getting older. And in a way, people and buildings go hand in hand. There are generations of both that age together, and we find that many older people live in older houses. They can't afford buying a new apartment, but basically they have moved there when they were establishing family and kept on living. Many have kept on living for decades. And so we find in Finland the biggest proportions of older age group in the buildings, residential buildings built in 70s, now 80s, 90s, and later in the beginning of this millennium. And what we see now is the proportion of older people. It's growing most quickly on the outskirts of the urban regions, and this creates challenges for daily traffic, for example. Then going to environmental qualities. First, I start with walkability, which is in many studies brought up with maybe the most essential thing, and it's a very vast concept. You can consider different amenities in your neighborhood, but we started looking at data on walking routes and their qualities, and analyzed, for example, the gradient, looking where you have steep slopes, which are difficult, particularly in the wintertime, for older people to move, and looking at places to rest, how the routes are maintained, what kind of lighting there is, and then linking this to information where people live. And on the basis of this, you can find areas or routes to prioritize what the older people are using most. And we interviewed some of these people. This is in the city of Lahti, actually, I wrote here. It's not Vantaa, but it's the city of Lahti. And many of these older ladies, they had some injuries, broken their bones at some point of their lives, and they were living up on a hill. So it's a very difficult place in the wintertime to get down, and many had experienced accidents. Then secondly, urban green areas, they are important for the well-being of many, and they consist of different types of areas. There are public green areas, but also private yards, and then walking routes, what kind of street greenery you have on the way, and the experience consists of all of these. And we analyzed some areas. This is Myyrmäki, Vantaa. So looking at where the green areas are located and what kind of areas in the center of this neighborhood are lacking the green areas in the proximity of 300 meters. So, and this is exactly the area that are now being built up again, increasing infill development in the area. So there's a chance to bring new green, but also much pressures to build very intensively in the center of the area. Then looking at the whole city, we calculated the kind of a green index for Tampere region here, and also placing the older inhabitants in the picture. And so there are significant differences between different parts of the city. And when the cities are planning infill development, it should be taken into account that so that there should remain enough green also in the very proximity where people live. Then analyzing local services, we heard today in Saya's presentation that not everyone over 65 or 75, 500 meters is easy way to a local store, and in these quite dense urban areas in Finland, you have many services in 15 minutes walking distance, which is 900 meters. It's quite rapid walking for older people. But then if you look at the 500-meter threshold, it's not met in all parts of this neighborhood or district in the city. So some challenges, and the shops are now getting larger, concentrating, as well as some other services as well, and this creates even more challenges. So some older people are fit enough to go to a further away to big supermarkets or hypermarket, but the rest who don't have a car or can't move so easily, they have to stick to the local store if it exists in the area or not. And we have presentations on the meeting places, which are very important for social interaction, as we heard, and we had mapped, there are quite a variety of them, and this is in this Myyrmäki neighborhood in Vantaa also, and mostly in the center of the neighborhood. And one question is that should we have more also close on the outskirts of the area, close to where people live, their homes, and they offer chance to multi-generational contacts as well, and also social control and safety. City of Vantaa made a survey here and asked people if they feel safe, and actually many reported that they felt unsafe. But where and why, this is not so exactly known. But if you have more people in the area providing social control, so it supports safety and the other way around, so there could be this kind of positive circle. Older people are also significant resource for making these events or meetings happen, and thinking of neighbor help also, that it's a question where you meet your neighbors. Is it in your own apartment house or in the yard or somewhere close by in the local shop? So you can make connections to other people and maybe ask for help if you need in some issues. Then going to a little bit upper level, looking at the city region and public transport, it's a thing that you need to plan together with the services that you have. One city organized a social and healthcare center in a different place, and the county organized nowadays in Finland, and the city was then amazed at how they can reline the buses to go there so that the older people can access the new center over there. So they need intensive connections to different services, and one city established a laboratory or made a deal with a private company that provides the laboratory services in a place where there was practically no parking, and many of the older people complained that how they can get there if there's no chance for their family members to drive them and drop them off at the laboratory. And even though you might have bus connections during the rush time, as here on the map, it might be different in the evening, and how to get to cultural events or other hobbies that take place later in the evening. City of Tampere is trying the kind of cultural service bus or this kind of solution that might be helping in these situations. And this map is from the city of Pori. You have also localities on the outskirts of the region, and they have suffered very big difficulties in the access to the main center of the region. Then, looking at all these maps, what kind of conclusions you can make? They help to identify areas where to focus future planning, where you have some lacks deficit in age friendliness, and you can also monitor changes. But one analysis here, example from the city of Jyväskylä, is summing them up in a way that they have went through many different variables and giving weights to these variables, and then summing up to this kind of multi-criteria map of well-being factors for aging population. So that's one interesting example. And well, coming to the end of my presentations, I'm from Environment Institute, so what we are particularly interested in is sustainability, and we were comparing age-friendly objectives to Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and there's very much synergy. You can find all these short distances, service accessibility, mixed-use public transport, and so on, moderate housing costs, safety, etc. But maybe also some challenges. One might be related to allocation of space, street space for different modes of transport, maybe reserving enough space for slow mobility of older people, and then also driving and parking, because not everybody is able to use public transport. And if you have only sustainable modes of transport prioritized, you must at least make some compromises. Then maybe if digital solutions, they are efficient and they might be able to solve some of the service accessibility problems, but not for everyone. So there you can also have inequality in service availability. And maybe also ecological gentrification might happen if you need to do energy renovations, use electric cars, have new rail investments, and it might rise the housing costs a lot and even displace older inhabitants in the area if it gets too expensive. And if you can't do renovations, then you might suffer energy poverty if the prices are high. And also densification, which has some ecological benefits if you don't get too dense and lose the green areas, might be in some conflict of the preferences with of the older people. Well, thinking how to develop planning, you might need to look at different scales and different sectors and kind of combine the idea that if you think of services or daily mobility, it's a question of very many issues on many scales. And our conclusions here is that thinking of developing age friendliness and planning in cities, the priority is awareness that you recognize these impacts for older people. And actually, as we heard from today's presentations as well, several improvements can be made by rather small efforts. Organizing action, you don't have to build very expensive infrastructure every time. And if you have successful pilots, it should be reasonable to upscale them to the city level from certain neighborhoods where you have tested them. And there's a need to integrate age friendliness with other interests in planning. They might be big interests related to the building costs, for example, using areas efficiently. And promoting age-friendly programs, guaranteeing their continuity in the cities, there might be changes in personnel and projects in many cities. And participation of older residents in different phases of planning, not only in the beginning or in the end or in between, but preferably following the whole process. And maybe in these days with big changes, also increasing resilience in many ways is one of the emphasis areas. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Antti. What you really show us is the power of data. And it really resonates with our earlier parallel sessions that when you have data, you can plan and you can really support the communities and older persons. So thank you so much. Our next speaker is Sirle Salmistu. She is a landscape architect, an urban planner, and also a senior lecturer at the Tallinn University of Technology. She will speak about placemaking in Estonia and how she is engaging older persons, their lived experience in the planning and designs of the cities and communities. So Sirle, over to you.
Thank you, Yongjie. Very nice introduction, and I'm very happy to be here. As a starting point, if you don't mind, can you show with your hands who identifies themselves as a built environment professional? Planner, designer, architect, or whatsoever. Thank you. There's a huge number of us over here, so what a responsibility. Anyway, my name is Sirle Salmistu, and I am mainly working in Tallinn University of Technology as a senior lecturer and as a researcher as well. So my topic or research focus has been on age-friendly cities and communities since 2019. So a little, but not that bad. And I'm happy to share some of the knowledge from Estonian context. Yeah, I got it. So just a brief to give you a briefly to give you a context. Estonia is a rather small country with only 1.3 million people. So, but everyone is important in our context as well. So. There are 15 counties and 79 local government units, including cities or towns in Estonia, and most people, including older adults, live in urban settlements. And Estonia, like many other countries in Europe or in the world, is facing an increase in aging population. Our statistics show that already 20% of the population is over 65 years old and older. And this number is prognosed to even increase to almost 1/3 of the population by 2050. Regardless of the size of the local government, municipalities have responsibilities to develop their living environment, their spatial development, and provide services to its residents. So age friendliness is very much the responsibility of local governments. So how the concept of age-friendly cities and communities is addressed in Estonia? So what is our current situation in terms of age friendliness? To note, no local government is a member of the WHO network, nor do we have a local network, anything like that. So it's kind of an indicator that probably there is not that political will yet, however, the concept of age-friendly communities has begun to spread in recent years. Furthermore, maybe the concept of 8 and 80 cities are more familiar, at least in the field of architecture. And more broadly, even the concept of inclusive planning is perhaps the best known. It dates back to 2008, at least in Estonian context. Nevertheless, various initiatives in various fields are taking place in local level. People are doing a lot of work in terms of age-friendly communities, but we don't label these initiatives as age-friendly, so to say, nor we address these questions holistically yet. Anyway, if to talk about creating spaces or placemaking, one of the central issues to built environment professional is the notion of high-quality spaces. So what is it? How do we define the concept of high-quality space? Think of it. My way of thought is we cannot underestimate the power of design. Everything around us is a design decision. Furthermore, the spaces and how they are designed affects human behavior. Thus, urban planning and urban design decision influence public life, public and individual health, it's not wrong either, well-being and quality of life as well. So, urban planning and design should function as a prevention tool rather than reaction to something, or it should help to alleviate some problems rather than set limits. Thus, I truly believe that a good space or high-quality space equals age-friendly and healthy space. In Estonia, we do have agreed upon what is called a quality or high-quality space on national level. So safety and security, accessibility, social cohesion, sense of place are among them. But there's more in age-friendly cities and communities. So here are three overarching concepts of age-friendly communities that are driving my work and which are important to keep in mind in urban planning and design as well. So these are already ideas that have been talked about in different presentations, but aging in place, basically staying home as long as possible, independence and autonomy, and also physical accessibility, very important. Quite often, solutions and obstacles lie in the details. So the main question is, what planners and designers can or should do to ensure that these principles are followed in their work and eventually implemented to living environments? So, for instance, one of the outstanding challenges at the moment in Estonia, the challenge and limitation at the same time is related to housing options and living arrangements, and this is accessibility. How people get in and out of their homes. There's no point, if I can say, if your home is adjusted well or even the outdoors is well designed and very accessible if you can't get out. So, large number of population is living in apartment buildings, including older adults, with several stories, with no elevator. At the moment in Estonia, the renovation wave through the EU Green Deal is taking place. Probably it's not only Estonia, but elsewhere as well, which main idea is to become climate neutral by 2050. And so the energy efficiency of buildings is like the main target. Unfortunately, the strategic goal of the renovation wave of residential buildings does not address accessibility issues, although one of its principles is improving the quality of living environment. I mean, there are exceptions, but in general speaking, I can say so, which is a lost opportunity to my mind. Anyway, in addition to these four-mentioned key principles, a few more aspects regarding the physical environment and public space plays a key role to older adults. And this is based on research and sometimes forgotten that we are not creating just physical environments, but we are planning and designing emotions and social life. This is the ultimate target. Built environment creates opportunities for social interactions and public engagement. It's a stage where social life can take place. And thus it has a crucial impact to people's health, including mental health. If we talk about loneliness, there's a lot of opportunities for built environment professionals. So here are the most recent, let's say, age-friendly related spatial and policy interventions in Estonia. Most notably, the principles of age-friendly Estonia has been developed in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Affairs. Also, welfare development plan has now a sub-focus on older adults. And in local level, a good example from Tartu City is that Tartu City was the first who started strategically develop the topic of age-friendly, specifically elderly-friendly city. And one of the most valuable findings from this process is the knowledge how much the city did not know about their older residents. Thus, the next step was the data collection and to getting to know who are they, where they are, or what they do. Anyway, this didn't also turn out as expected, and still we have a next piece of knowledge, of course. Just recently, let's say a week ago, the city of Võru, whose representative is here somewhere in the audience as well, they completed a satisfaction survey among senior residents, and nearly 600 people were giving their input, which to my mind is a great result. So without knowledge, without the data, we can't do also decisions on policies or how to develop our space. So, having all this knowledge, me and my colleagues, we became curious. We became curious already before all the knowledge, but we asked, how recently designed and built urban public spaces, the most contemporary urban spaces in Estonia and small towns, address the concept of age-friendly cities and communities, and consider older adults as users of this space. So how this knowledge reflected in the physical space. So we chose to explore 10 central squares or streets that are constructed on the basis of the winning entries of architecture competition through the architecture program Great Public Space. And we were looking at 10 small towns and 10 new places that are built. Sorry about the quality. There is also city around those black dots or black areas. I'm not sure if you can see it, but anyways, these are the examples of our places that we were exploring. So majority of those architectural competition took place in 2015, which is 10 years ago, right? Anyway, we assumed that the needs of all people were considered while doing these competitions, including older adults, and particularly because all these small towns are with aging population. And our aim was not to rank or compare these places with each other, but to highlight the issues that could be improved or information used for future improvements elsewhere. And we developed an assessment instrument based on various resources, and we conducted fieldworks. We structured our assessment into 10 subcategories, or let's say design principles. And also to say that we did not explore the user experience or this emotional and social component of those places, but our aim was to look at the physical space as such. So overall key finding of our study reveals that the design outcomes completed through urban design competition do not necessarily reflect the needs of older adults. Most probably because the competition and implementation process did not involve public engagement component. It was a placemaking process initiated by experts. It was a gift given to the communities. So anyway, at the same time, the competition's briefs were very ambitious. Of course, the local government collected all ideas and they wanted to achieve as much as possible through those competitions. And they were asking input their community members, we believe. But still, as we know, engaging older adults into the process from the beginning is one of the key principles of achieving age-friendly community. Nevertheless, in general, we can point out several positive findings across all these 10 areas. So they were all clean and well maintained, which increases the sense of security, which is extremely important for older adults. And there is a variety of seats in the areas, which also increases the time spent outdoors. And it contributes to enhancing the accessibility of public spaces. People want to be there if there is places to be. All areas provide the opportunity to sit in the sun. However, sheltered areas or seating should be increased for hot and sunny seasons. We do have hot and sunny seasons in Estonia, so during the summers. So our summers are getting very hot sometimes. And thirdly, there is a good diversity of landscaping and greenery. Green infrastructure is a very important component that enables to observe seasonal changes and provide sensory enjoyment. Again, the lack of shade is probably a little downside of it, but this is probably the issue of the format or the type of the square or the place itself. And fourth, availability of focal points or meeting places. These have been addressed everywhere. Flags, squares, fountains, anything. So this is the social component of it. So this is definitely important also for tourism as point of interest to watch or take pictures. And also these serve as business cards of these places and create the identity of the place. So this is really, it was really a good thing. Now, from the downsides of our findings is that across all public spaces, we found out there is issues with providing information and the issues of wayfinding, let's say maps or using infographics. At the same time, overabundance of visual information is also a risk that needs to be avoided, and this is an important topic for people with dementia or memory loss, so how to find your way. And this, unfortunately, was a common topic that was overlooked in all places. Secondly, another shortcoming that stood out, that was a lack of exercise equipment for older adults, although children's playgrounds were designed a lot. And although not identified as a common deficiency in observed places, the lack of public restrooms in public space is a general issue in Estonia. That can be an obstacle from the first place for people to go out at all. And finally, although the implementation and existence of 10 new places have stated as positive aspect in general, the quality or usability always remains as a factor that impacts the overall satisfaction. For instance, poor quality of stone pavements or material used. As I said, the devil is in details. To sum up, if we want to aim better for age friendliness and address urban aging, if we want to encourage health and healthy aging, as planners and designers, it is crucial to understand people's needs and the profile of the place and the profile of the residents, because they are constantly changing. So there is a crucial need to translate that knowledge to physical space. And as said in the opening session, that if you have no data, if you cannot measure, it's invisible, right? So how do we do this evidence-based decisions or data-driven decisions if we don't have it? To conclude with another thought is that another way to put it for all of us is, let us not forget that we do plan our living environments for our future selves. So why would we do something not good? So that's all by my side. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you got a little new information and got some inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Such powerful presentations. I really like what you said about never underestimate the power of urban design, because it really is a preventative approach rather than reactive, and that age-friendly space is really a healthy space because we take health in the broadest sense, health and well-being in a very holistic way. So thank you so much. Our last speaker is Sirle Salmistu. Thank you. She is the founder of Fabric Plus, with a background in design, urban development, and she's also an economist. So she leads the project on Aging in the Arctic program. And so she'll speak about her work, how she involved older persons in Arctic cities to co-create solutions that are practical, scalable, and based on lived experience. So Siri, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Siri, and I'm very happy to see all the maps in this section. I feel like we're the map and data section. I'm an economic geographer by background, a designer and director of Fabric Plus, and I will talk a little bit about this innovation program that we've ended up calling it. It's called Aging in the Arctic. And a little bit about us. We are part of an architecture firm. We believe in utilizing and strengthening the social fabric to actually enhance the urban fabric, because it's the life in between the buildings and what happens that actually makes the architecture and the built environment feel alive. Now, we are placed, I said I was a geographer, I brought some maps. I don't know if you can see, but this is the Nordics from a bit of a strange angle. But it shows the population of our different countries. And we are right up along the back of this tiger, or what to call it. And from this angle, it looks like we are quite remote, that we are far away from where all the people are centered. However, if you see it from a slightly different angle, we are smack in the middle of the world's events. And we are living in some extreme conditions that also allow us to learn and be curious and move a little bit faster in the elements that really shape the global agenda. Because here, from this angle, we're not remote. We're one of the more developed countries in the Arctic, where we have most citizens, most cities, most communities. But it's also in a place of the world where the demographic changes happen faster. And the consequences of climate change are sometimes felt more through more extreme weather. When it becomes warmer in our part of the world, then it also becomes, let's say, less stable.
and meaning that our winters are turning from something that maybe was stable but is now more extremes. And we are struggling to recruit personnel, and this is a good region to really learn how to do something about it. I didn't just wake up one day and think that I would go into age friendliness. It started with a UK doctor, my husband, who I had spent 5 years convincing to move to Buda from London. He was the Ratnarajan in my name, also family from Sri Lanka, lived in the concrete jungle all his life, and specialized in geriatrics. So I thought, let's bring him along. And he asked a lot of questions that we hadn't asked ourselves for a long time. New people tend to do that when they get a first impression of a place. So always listen to the newcomers. And my husband is here outside of our house. We moved, of course, in July, so I wouldn't give him a complete shock. It crept up on him, and suddenly it was 6 to 8 months of winter. But he asked the question, and he couldn't let it go. How the heck do people cope with all of this snow and ice when they age? And I was like, well, I mean, they've lived here all their life. They're probably used to it. We hadn't really gone into depth with this for a long time. But it was an interesting question. And we started with a question. We started with a question, and we started with an interdisciplinary team. Because from my field and my experience, your subject alone is very rarely enough to enlighten such a complex question. So we got our first funding from the Design and Architecture Foundation of Norway, Doga, who is here in the room today. Thank you very much. And with great support from Center for an Age-Friendly Norway. And we started exploring this question together. But from an economist point of view, from a design point of view, service design, systems-oriented design, from a health point of view, also from landscape architecture, transport, mobility. So we all work together from the very beginning in exploring this question. The wheel isn't quite right, but it kind of mimics the right ways of, or the framework of the WHO, which is also guiding us, because we need to look at these questions from our various angles, because it concerns all of us. But that means we can also help enlighten this question from all our perspectives. So how is winter experienced by senior citizens? And this is a piece of work that then resulted in an insights report with 27 insights across 5 themes. We looked at how winter affects seniors and elderly. We looked at falls and falls prevention, services and systems, transport and mobility, accessibility, architecture, and outdoor spaces. And these topics emerged from the conversations. They weren't predetermined. A little bit about Buda. I mean, it's a 55,000, which was our study area, 55,000 inhabitants. It fluctuates between -9 and +6 in winter, so it's absolutely not stable. It's coastal, and it can be icy and wonderful one day, and it can melt and be slush and hell, the next day. And in this, we have a really aging community with expected over a 300% increase in over 90-year-olds, 150% increase in over 80-year-olds. But we started with taking the question with no judgment to the elderly people themselves. And over 300 elderly in the community gave us their opinions. And they were so varied. So it's almost impossible to show you the variety, but or to draw out something because we're so diverse. But we used the winter months to do walking tours. We did a survey. We did workshop and focus groups. We did in-depth interviews, observation, analysis. all the types of ways you could engage with elderly, we were there. And I was heavily pregnant, so I also felt very, I had some mobility issues myself, which also connected with them. But what we found was not so joyful, because even though a lot of people manage really well, there are a lot of people who get isolated by the weather. And we say, we have a Norwegian expression called the threshold mile, the door threshold, and the things that kind of make that threshold higher and higher, making it difficult to leave your home. And weather is, and climate is definitely one of those. But it's, so we found that 44% of the people we ask lack company in winter, often or sometimes. And that 66% know of some or many who don't go out in winter. But data is enhanced also with quotes, and this is one of the ones I remember the most. It was an apartment building, a woman in an apartment building who said, "After the winter, it felt like an epidemic of dementia had gone through my building." And people hadn't really seen each other, they hadn't been out, and she could really see that her neighbors had cognitively declined over the months. So it's really touching and serious to do something about it. We also saw that those who live alone report on experiencing their neighborhoods as more inaccessible, feeling more unsafe. So those who lived in couples reported that they managed better than those who lived alone. And we also found through interviews that this is often due to the transition of actually going from having a partner to perhaps losing your partner and losing the hand to hold when you're out in the neighborhoods. And these kind of transitions, suddenly, not only is it a transition for you, but the whole environment around you transforms when you're suddenly alone. And this is a time for us to act. We care a lot about universal design in Norway. It's detailed in all our plans. And we measure to the centimeter of how broad a street is and how long from the ground to the seat. But we don't really have a way of seeing how, this is the same street, by the way. So to the left, it's being measured up for accessibility. We've got a map in Bodø that says, this street is super accessible. Still also in winter, even though the environment has changed a lot. So when we talk about design and accessibility, we have to think of our local context, and we have to think about how the weather affects. Another transition that we also saw was that those who had experienced a fall before report on experiencing the neighborhood as much more unsafe. And it doesn't matter where you've fallen, if you've fallen on holiday or a previous winter, but you suddenly realize that that it can also happen to you. And that also does something to the environment around you. For many, falling is the life event that ends independent living, so it's worth fearing. 1 in 5 move to long-term care within a year after a hip fracture, and fear of falling leads to inactivity and isolation. Now, we worked on how can we engage, for example, politicians on this. And we are lucky to have something called the Falls Barometer in Norway that actually quantifies how much does a hip fracture cost. And this is not inflation adjusted, I must say. This is from 2021. But one hip fracture costs the community, costs Norwegian cities and communities over 560,000 kroner. And it's actually been, I got new numbers today, which has been adjusted upwards. If you prevent 2 hip fractures, you save 1.5 million kroner. Now, that's a language that got a lot of attention from the politicians. And that's where we found our way into further funding. Because this started with the Insight study, but it has grown into multiple projects with the architecture school, going deeper into falls prevention, testing solutions, and funding that has allowed us to actually continue under the same umbrella, but dive deeper and deeper
driven by the knowledge we get from the from the locals in the various places. The first impact and the first design that we had was actually trying to do something about falls prevention, and we did it through GIS mapping and survey. We tried to think, how are we gonna, because this is one of the hard-to-reach group with the messages of age friendliness. The winter plowers and the technicians of the municipality, they are not very moved by age friendliness. So we had to work hard, and we understood, and we spent a long time with them to understand what's important to you. We understood they had adopted two sustainability terms. They cared about the environmental sustainability, not spending too much sand and gravel because it's contaminated, and economic sustainability. They had no room for social sustainability. However, we also saw that, well, we actually have to find a way of how can we actually make it easier for them to prioritize and to spend less of the sand or the money. So we also saw that good data on falls were non-existent. You maybe had something on the national level, but you had nothing that had local relevance. So here's a gap. And we designed a simple and inexpensive falls mapping tool based on self-reporting. So we hung up posters on the bus stops and in different places of two cities, in Harstad and in Bodø, and we asked a simple question: nothing about you or your information to trigger GDPR or health data, but we asked, where have you slipped and what happened? And through GIS, it could go straight into the municipal database, and we could get maps like these, which also, the lighting is a bit, but there's a city map behind here. And all the slips and falls, you could suddenly target streets and understand why and where do people fall. And then you have the grounds to make better priorities with your prevention. So the local data and actually using this to understand how to prioritize, gives us a platform to design more inclusive. It leads to better collaboration between road owners and those with different responsibilities. So here is an example in Harstad, where we found an area that was really had lots of slips. And then the human story and the data brought together those who owned the building, those who were responsible for the street and the plowing, the swimming club, because this was outside of a swimming hall, and they could do interventions locally and really find. So we put up. We're testing now, putting up signs, handrails, even heat mats and people got really creative and collaborative about solving that particular area. We even made guidance to property owners, renters, on where the municipal services taught the others how to maintain a street in the most effective way, using design to teach and not to punish for not doing it, for example. And the third one, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, but it also showed how this insight led to, and co-design led to a new service. And we've seen a few examples of this, so I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm going to show you, we started with we thought we were going to solve one problem that had to do with the transport service, getting elderly people out to gyms or social events. That was really hard to find a good transport service that could cater for all the needs. What we really found by listening to the elderly was we changed the question. We found out how can we activate the neighbors in a borettslag, in like a shared apartment building, and be active and social the whole year round. So we co-designed Nabotrim with a municipality, and where they actually teach some volunteers in this apartment building on how to do their own exercises and bringing it to the front door instead of actually creating a complex transport system that could actually do the same as this local service can do. Now we've started, and the challenge is for us to keep it going. We can go up just in our slippers, and it's really accessible. And that we're many together makes it extra nice. We get the blood circulation going, the muscles going, and it's a really good start to the day. It's been really slippery, and I haven't dared to go out. So here, in a way, it was possible to do a solution that was inexpensive and utterly scalable, because it took one municipal employee to teach and give a program to now it's scaled to 5 apartment buildings. And then there's about 10, 20 in each of them that are conducting this service, and it has spread like wildfire. So it's been a really big learning that sometimes we overcomplicate, but that if you really listen to what the elderly need, it might be a more inexpensive solution that could actually do it. Winter is coming, as you felt. We're looking for new partners in all of the Nordics and Baltics, so we would love to hear from you. If you scan the QR code, you can read our Insights report. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Siri. This is such a great panel, a panel of maps and data to really show the power of data and how we can change people's lives. So we have a few questions to ask you, but because it's such an engaging presentations, I thought we just open the floor to all of you, and I'd like to introduce you to our intern, Anna Salomoni. She's a PhD student on age-friendly cities and communities. So she has a microphone. So if you have any questions, comments, please raise your hand. Don't be shy.
Can you show the
It's not
the question, just the slide before.
The slide before. Yes. So while you think of the questions, perhaps I could ask our panelists. Of course, the principle of age-friendly design, age-friendly environment is engaging with older persons. And through your presentations, you have been engaging. What surprised you when you speak to older persons? What are some of the lessons learned?
Yeah, I think there's some very local knowledge that you can't grasp with these data sets, and it's particularly going to neighborhood level, but also thinking of the whole city, that you need to you need to be interested in how they experience the environment, how they see that it should be developed. So it starts from this kind of awareness and interest and value that you give for age-friendly environments, and then also kind of collecting data, but maybe storing, using it. The cities perform all sorts of surveys and this kind of stuff, but maybe do it once again and again, maybe touching the same themes, but building a kind of database that what we already know, and not everything changes in 2 or 3 years. So gathering information that could be also shared with the residents, the older people, everybody might enable better planning in the future.
Is there anything that surprised you when you were engaging with other persons?
Well, as I said, there are many things that researchers coming from outside can't think of, and they might be some smaller findings about the environment that we haven't been thinking of that might be very valuable for them. And maybe those who have done walking interviews or this kind of methods, they just meet them in the environment itself. That something for a wheelchair, some slopes need to be wide enough to be able to go upwards there. If they are too narrow, this kind of ramps, there are difficulties in the area.
Great. Other panelists? Oh yes, we have a speaker.
I will answer to your question. So I think it's twofold in Estonian context. First of all, engaging with older adults at the first. In one hand, they are they are quite often very shy. They don't think their opinion matters. So it's important to convince them that actually their opinion is important. So they say, don't ask us, ask younger ones. So why us? Don't. But at the other hand, they have a lot to share. And once they get over it, so they really have a lot to say. So you need to a little bit balance to bring them around the table and to convince them, and then eventually we get good insights as well.
Yes, it's the environment you create and that invite them to share their thoughts.
But it's also quite difficult to get those people who are not active. I mean, it's usually the same people are going to workshops and roundtables and different events. So how do we reach to those that are actually requiring some help? So how to get input from them? It's some of the challenges what I have experienced.
Mm-hmm. So we'll have one last comment, and then we go to the two questions from the floor.
Thank you. I think, and this goes for any engagement, but I found that it was most surprising how difficult it is sometimes to articulate exactly what you need. So it's something about just asking an open question of, what do you need is very, very hard to answer. So we started instead using idea prompts. So we made very low threshold, sometimes quite bad ideas, just to spark a conversation about what do you need. So we had, for example, one image likely designed by showing what's it called, rullator, like a walking aid that had a screen showing which streets had been plowed and which hadn't. And they were like, no, we definitely don't need this. It's going to be cold on our hands. We're not going to be able to use it. But I could use a light on my walking aid, like a bicycle light. I don't have that. That could light up the way in front of me. So then you suddenly found a very accessible, low threshold idea that didn't exist, but based on prompting with an idea that wasn't very good. So using ideas and images to prompt the discussion makes it easier sometimes to articulate what you need.
Great, that's very practical. Great. So we have two questions from the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also have a practical question, and maybe it's from Siri's presentation that you had the finding that a lack of public toilets, and this finding, I think it's already, we know it for 20 or 30 years, that this is the problem, that older people do not go out, one of the problems. Yeah. For example, lack of benches where to sit. So what is the core reason for that? Is this the money? Is this, I'm not a planner, I have no idea about planning, but why? We know there is a problem, but it's not being solved. We keep talking about it in all conferences and all findings.
That's a great question. Could we maybe take another questions and then perhaps we can open up for our panel? So this lady over there.
Yes, hello. My name is Ásthildur Sturludóttir and I'm the mayor of Akureyri municipality in Iceland. And I would like to start by thanking you all the panelists for your excellent presentations. They were really, really interesting. But I would like to ask you, Siri, a question. Because Akureyri is like Bodø. We are a northern city, we are an Arctic city, and Bodø and Akureyri have been working together in the Arctic Mayors Forum for quite many years. Has it been difficult to get information from the older people on your inhabitants on falls, for example? I think it's really interesting and could spare us a lot of money when we are shoveling the streets and the walking paths. So thank you, and thank you for a very lovely conference.
Maybe just one more, and then we'll open.
Thank you. My name is Linda Arntzen, and I'm a professor in public health from Trondheim in Norway. I just wonder, I'm not sure if it's a question to Antti or it's to all of you, because I have a concern about social inequalities. And what Sirle just said, it's the same people that engage when you invite them. But it's not the people we need to talk to. So have you considered using registries, for example, having projects with the local hospitals? So if you have a hip fracture, whatever, if they can tell where it come from instead of those who always participate in these QR codes, and because there is a bias towards what we really need to know. So also for the great map that Antti showed us, because there are different, and we also know it's very expensive to live in cities. But there are some areas that are not so expensive, and what follows with those areas we also know. So my motto is, how do we reach all those who need it the most? Yeah.
So great questions about, we know sometimes what we need, but why is there a lack of investment? And I really like, Siri talking about the investment case, getting information on fall preventions, and how do we really meaningfully engage people who are maybe needed support the most isolated. So the floor is yours.
Maybe I can start with the last question. It's a very good question indeed, and that may be a problem in many studies. And well, using this kind of population registry data we have, it gives an overall picture, but we don't see the most vulnerable older people where you would need to have some other registry information, and maybe, well, it's difficult to obtain because of the privacy protection, but I've heard that in some studies this is the objective to maybe handle also with this kind of more sensitive data, and that's a very aspirable goal really. In some of our workshops we have organized, we have tried to interview those active people participating about their neighbors, about the people they know who might have the problems, and then you can get some idea. They are talking about neighbors who don't leave their homes for several months, even though they themselves are very active. So that might give some idea about what's the situation overall. But this is, I don't know if you have some other people more better answers here, but it's a question really to discuss.
Do you want to do the benches or? No, I can follow up on that because I think for us using registries hasn't been the way to reach those who are hard to reach. We've used relationships. So we've spent a lot of time actually building relationships and using and getting to know the places where people go. But we have also worked with health personnel. So we have worked, for example, with the hospitals who get fractures in, and you saw the examples of the bus posters, but we also had physical boards up in the hospitals where you could put a little pin in which street you actually fell on, and actually made it more tangible. But the key to understanding where to reach is to spend enough time to understand where are those key relationships and connect to them. Now, for us, it's not the most important part that it's. We're not going to publish our study. We're trying to in a peer-reviewed academic paper. We're trying to use it to get closer to something that can create a solution. So it's for us. We feel that it's often good enough to then just be on the ground quite a lot and work very closely with those who are who we know are reaching those who we can't in the streets.
Maybe I also start commenting on the last question, perhaps, just what I know. To reach the entire sample, let's say, it's quite complicated to get access to sensitive or address data, first of all. At least I know, for instance, the city of Tartu in Estonia, they did not get access to this registry data to send out the surveys to all older adults in the city of Tartu. So, but I believe city of Võru, they addressed this slightly differently. So, so they were able to learn from that. But also it's always the finances. It's also a very, there's a load of resources. I mean, it's very it's expensive as well. That's what I know, probably. Someone else could say better. But to respond to the first question, I believe, about public restrooms and benches, I wish I knew the answer. I have the same question. I'm just having some assumptions that probably those who are deciding, they cannot see the problem. So if it's not a problem for them, they might not see it's a problem for everyone else. But it's the public restrooms is not really an issue for older adults. It's actually for all. It's but yeah, it's some kind of basic needs that we all have, and we all need to use those. And of course also benches is the same, but it's started to change. I mean, my personal experience with benches is it's now better than before, but maybe next step is to tackle the public restrooms project in future. So it's really, sometimes it needs initiative, a person who would take the lead to push this idea, and money and finances, the lack of it is always everywhere the issue. So how do we set priorities? Probably there are other priorities at the same time. So these are these tiny pieces from the projects they're cut out the very first round.
Yeah.
So unfortunately.
So we have 3 more four questions from the floor, and of course invite you to also share your experience from your cities and municipalities. So I think questions from the back, and then two from here, and then one from there.
From Oslo, over here. And I have a question for Siri concerning what metrics do you use to evaluate the effectiveness of your measures? And this question is kind of continuing of the former discussion about whether or not you reach the people who actually need help. So which metrics are used to consider if a measure has been successful or not? And I understand metrics, of course, will vary a bit. If you can choose some examples.
So maybe shall we take all four questions and then we finish with this round of panel? So 2 questions from the front.
Hello, my name is Anna. I'm from Lithuania and I am universal design expert and public health specialist. So Siri mentioned during her presentation that in winter universal design principles just cancelled. But anyway, in Norway is implementing universal design strategy. And how can UDIB solutions be addressed in winter, or maybe any other alternatives? So.
Great. Kenny?
Kenny, age-friendly Uppsala. Sirle was saying something about top-down placemaking by experts compared to down-up with the elderly, and Siri mentioned something that I just forgot. But my question or reflection is that I feel that when we talk about the engage the elderly, that's actually not the issue. That's one thing, and that's good for itself. People need to be listened to and to engage them. But this is very much about data and doing the right analysis. So in Sirle's example, experts are planning this, but well, they are not expert enough. Obviously, they need the data and the analysis, and that's what Siri said, that. People, it's hard to answer. Okay, so what do you need? Well, I don't know. I'm just living my life. So the question from Public Health Norway, I really like that, because that's a different issue, and I think that's the question in this panel. How do we know things about this group? It's not about really engaging the elderly, but about doing the work and having the knowledge. So that's, to me, is 2 different things. Thank you.
It's also the heart of age-friendly designs, bring different people, different skills together, right? So that's a good question. And one last question at the back, and back to the panel.
Yes, thank you. This is more of a comment. I'm Tanja Tasala. I come from Finland. I work at the Ministry of Social Affairs and Health. And I've been listening. Thank you for this day and all those discussions and presentation. And to me, it sums up that like experience from the local level. It's all about the multi-sectoral cooperation. As you know, you talk from the technical department perspective, and the health promotion talk from that perspective, but at the local level they do collaborate. And for example, in Finland, we have this health promotion coefficient. The government gives money if you prevent hip fractures at the community level, together with municipalities and the healthcare sector. So it's all about the multi-sectoral collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a challenge back to our panel, maybe 1 minute each to respond to some of those questions about matrix, working together, alternatives to the universal designs.
Yeah, I'll start. So I'm very passionate about evaluation, and of course, the way we've worked, we've often gone from small project to small project, and there's rarely, in a way, the budget to do the full-on evaluation of our own work, but we do have one that's big enough, and that's making it easier to learn from all the others. Firstly, we try and make and continuously evolve and test a theory of change framework. So trying to understand what actions do we actually believe will lead to change, and then analyze how do we believe that we can measure whether what we're doing is actually causing an effect. So being guided by that framework, we try and to the best of our ability with our collaborators to follow and see what happens and track the outcomes as much as we can. We often also start with prototypes. So starting not with giant experiments, but very small tests and learning and scaling along the way, because very rarely it's you learn when you test, and you learn based on the feedback that you get, sometimes with like the exercise, or even with designing the full survey, you learn, did it work? How many did we reach when we put QR coded bus on the bus stops? Okay, we've learned something about who we reached there. Okay, we understand a bit more about who takes the bus, and then we tested where do you get the most answers, where do you reach the people that don't go on the bus or that don't go out in the streets. So in a way, we try to continuously learn with these small iterations instead of doing one big pilot and doing a big evaluation scheme to go along with it. So that's in a way the only way we can work, because it's also because this learning, when you try something, is the best form of learning in our experience. It gets you a lot quicker to where it's wise to do your investments. So that's I would warmly recommend just trying something, learning, and then improving, and then of course being as structural as you can to how you measure and evaluate. But a little is much better than nothing. But we need a lot more skill on this, and we need a lot of learning on what measure matters, and I would love to see that become more accessible, because there's so many ways of measuring. But it is knowledge that you also need to learn, and sometimes it feels very, very overwhelming. But it is possible.
So thank you. This is a plug for tomorrow, because there is a session tomorrow just about measurement impact, and we'll have a few speakers who will share their specific example. But maybe to Antti and Sirle, maybe one sentence before we conclude.
Sorry.
And then you can continue, because we have an exciting plan in the reception. So one sentence each.
Ooh, that's a challenge. I'd say that still we need, or I'd like to see more collaboration between different, let's say, departments. Because health is not the issue of social work or welfare. It's also an issue for planning department or department of architecture. So although, as the sentence goes on, although age friendliness is not a very cool or appetizing topic as such, still urban planning is a social science. So.
I'll just briefly continue from the comment on multi-sectoral cooperation. Maybe cooperation of different bodies, also private companies, associations, might be one solution to these problems. Having resting places, having toilets to use, because some things disappeared during the winter conditions outside. Benches might be taken away, or there are maintenance problems, etc. But maybe using indoor spaces during that time, that shops or cafes, other libraries, other places might be part of the solution.
And with that, thank you so much. Let's continue this discussion at our receptions, and you're going to tell us about what we're doing at the reception.